In a dramatic escalation of the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict, the Israeli Defense Forces (IDF) and Israel's Internal Security Agency, the Shin Bet Isa, carried out a precision airstrike on a residential building in the heart of Doha's upscale West Bay district early Tuesday morning. The target, a high-level meeting of Hamas's political leadership, including key figures reportedly involved in ceasefire negotiations. The attack, which sent shockwaves through the Gulf state and beyond, marks the first time Israel has conducted a military operation on Qatari soil, a neutral hub for diplomacy in the protracted Gaza war. Eyewitnesses described hearing multiple explosions around 2:15 a.m. local time, followed by plumes of smoke rising from a cluster of luxury apartments housing expatriates and diplomatic personnel. Qatar's state media reported no immediate casualties among its citizens, but unconfirmed reports suggest at least 2 senior Hamas officials may have been killed, with others injured. The strike has drawn swift condemnation from Qatar, Iran, and several Arab nations, while Israel has defended the operation as a necessary blow against terrorism. As rescue teams comb the rubble and diplomats scramble to respond, the incident threatens to derail fragile truce talks and further destabilize the Middle East. The attack, precision strike or reckless assault. According to Israeli officials, the operation was meticulously planned over several weeks, relying on real-time intelligence from Mossad agents and satellite surveillance. The IDF confirmed the strike in an official statement released shortly after dawn, describing it as a precise operation, targeting the senior leadership of the Hamas terrorist organization. The building struck was said to house Hamas's political bureau, where leaders had gathered to discuss a potential ceasefire proposal floated by U.S. President Donald Trump earlier in the week. Reports indicate the meeting included Khalil al-Hayya, Hamas's deputy leader and chief negotiator in Qatar, as well as Khalid Mashal, the longtime exiled head of the group's political wing. Al-Hayya, a shadowy figure known for his role in bridging Hamas's military and political factions, was reportedly the primary target. Sources close to the matter, speaking to Axios, described the strike as an assassination attempt, using drone-fired missiles equipped with precision-guided munitions to minimize collateral damage. Qatari authorities, however, painted a far grimmer picture. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a statement labeling the attack a cowardly assault on civilian infrastructure, emphasizing that the targeted buildings were residential complexes protected under international law. Emergency services responded within minutes, evacuating residents and treating several for smoke inhalation and minor injuries. A spokesperson for Qatar's civil defense confirmed that the blast damaged 3 floors of a 15-story apartment block, with structural engineers assessing risks of collapse. No Qatari nationals were reported killed, but the incident has heightened fears among the country's large expatriate community, including thousands of Western diplomats and business executives. Hamas officials, in initial reactions broadcast on Al Jazeera, claimed that the leadership survived the attempt, but vowed retaliation. A senior Hamas source alleged that the group had been lured into the meeting under the guise of U.S.-mediated talks, echoing accusations of a trap, similar to past Israeli operations. Social media posts from Hamas sympathizers circulated images of the damaged site, accusing Israel of sabotaging peace efforts. However, conflicting reports emerged. The Times of Israel cited intelligence sources claiming al-Hayya was killed in the blast, alongside 2 aides. Hamas has yet to confirm any deaths, but the uncertainty has fueled speculation and anxiety across the region. Israel's justification. A response to October 7. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the nation in a televised statement from Jerusalem at 7 a.m. local time, framing the strike as a decisive action against the architects of the October 7 massacre. He emphasized that the operation was wholly independent, initiated and executed by Israel without foreign involvement. Israel will not allow the blood of our citizens to go unavenged, Netanyahu declared, referencing the 2023 Hamas-led attack that killed over 1,200 Israelis and triggered the ongoing war in Gaza. The IDF's full statement, posted on its official X account, provided further details. For years, these members of the Hamas leadership have led the terrorist organization's operations, are directly responsible for the brutal October 7 massacre, and have been orchestrating and managing the war against the State of Israel. Prior to the strike, measures were taken to mitigate harm to civilians, including the use of precise munitions and additional intelligence. The military asserted that the targets were not mere diplomats but terror chieftains, directing attacks from the safety of Doha, where Hamas has maintained a political office since 2012 with Qatari approval. Critics within Israel, including opposition leader Yair Lapid, questioned the timing and venue. Striking in Qatar, our mediator in hostage talks, risks everything we've built, Lapid said in a Knesset address. Human rights groups like B'Tselem condemned the operation as an extrajudicial killing, arguing it violates international norms on sovereignty and proportionality. Qatar's fury, a breach of sovereignty. Qatar, a key player in Middle East diplomacy, reacted with uncharacteristic outrage. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Majid al-Ansari called the strike a flagrant violation of international law and a direct threat to the security and safety of Qataris and residents. In a detailed communiqué, the ministry affirmed that investigations were underway at the highest level and vowed not to tolerate this reckless Israeli behavior. Doha has long hosted Hamas's political leadership as part of its role in facilitating talks between Israel and Palestinian groups. Since the October 7 attack, Qatar has mediated multiple truce attempts, including prisoner swaps and aid corridors into Gaza. The strike, occurring just as Hamas reviewed a Trump-proposed ceasefire, rumored to include a 60-day halt in hostilities and phased hostage releases, has been seen as a deliberate sabotage. Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani convened an emergency cabinet meeting, with state media reporting plans to summon Israel's ambassador, though Israel has no formal diplomatic ties with Qatar. Analysts suggest this could strain Doha's relations with Washington, which maintains a major U.S. airbase in Qatar and has relied on it for Gaza negotiations. Social media erupted with posts condemning the attack, including from Qatari citizens calling for unity against Zionist aggression. Hamas's defiance in the ceasefire context. Hamas, through its Al-Qassam Brigade spokesperson, described the strike as a cowardly assassination attempt, but claimed its leaders escaped unharmed due to divine protection. The group accused Israel of using the talks as a pretext, with one official telling Reuters that the meeting was focused on Trump's scant proposal, which lacked firm commitments on Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. The political office in Doha, established with U.S. and Israeli tacit approval, has been a double-edged sword. While it enabled dialogue, Israeli hardliners have long viewed it as a terrorist safe haven. The strike echoes past operations, like the 2024 killing of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, but its location in a Gulf ally amplifies the risks. International reactions. A chorus of condemnation. The global response was swift and largely critical. Iran, Hamas's patron, slammed the attack as a violation of international law, and warned of severe consequences, with Foreign Ministry spokesperson Nasser Kanani hinting at proxy retaliation via Hezbollah or Houthis. The United Arab Emirates, despite its Abraham Accords normalization with Israel, joined the condemnation, calling it a dangerous escalation. The United States, caught in the middle, issued a cautious statement from the State Department. We are aware of reports of an incident in Doha and are monitoring the situation closely. The U.S. urges all parties to exercise restraint. A U.S. official, speaking anonymously to NBC News, confirmed Israel acted alone but expressed concern over the impact on mediation efforts. President Trump, who had touted his ceasefire plan on Truth Social, remained silent as of press time, though aides suggested he viewed the strike as Israel's sovereign right. The United Nations Security Council scheduled an emergency session at Qatar's request, with Secretary General Antonio Guterres decrying the attack as a setback for peace. European leaders, including UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, called for de-escalation, while Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan labeled it state terrorism. In Gaza, the strike coincided with intensified IDF operations in Gaza City, where Netanyahu ordered evacuations ahead of ground advances. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas condemned the action from Ramallah, urging Arab unity. Background: Hamas in Qatar and the fragile peace process. Qatar's hosting of Hamas dates back to 2012, when leaders like Mashal relocated from Syria amid the civil war. With U.S. encouragement, Doha provided financial aid to Gaza, over $1.8 billion since 2012, and served as a backchannel for talks. This arrangement survived the 2023 war's outbreak, with Qatar brokering the November 2023 truce that freed 105 hostages. However, frustrations mounted. Israel accused Doha of being too lenient, while Hamas chafed at Qatar's pressure for concessions. Trump's recent intervention, proposing a final deal with economic incentives for Palestinians, had raised hopes, but details were sparse, focusing on a temporary ceasefire without addressing core issues like occupation or right of return. The Doha office symbolized this delicate balance, but Israel's tolerance waned as ceasefire talks stalled. Intelligence reports, per the New York Times, suggested Hamas was using the venue to coordinate attacks, justifying the strike in Israeli eyes. Casualties, damage, and immediate aftermath. Casualty figures remain fluid. Qatari health officials reported 12 injuries, mostly minor, with no deaths among locals. Hamas sources claimed several martyrs, potentially including al-Haya, whose death would cripple negotiations. The IDF insisted on zero civilian casualties, crediting precision tech, but images of twisted metal and shattered glass tell a different story. Doha, a city of gleaming skyscrapers and gas wealth, awoke to heightened security. Checkpoints ringed West Bay, and Qatar Airways flights faced delays amid airspace concerns. Economically, oil prices spiked 2% on fears of Gulf instability, with analysts warning of broader disruptions if Qatar retaliates by cutting mediation or aid. Implications: a new chapter of conflict. This strike could unravel the Gaza war's diplomatic scaffolding. With Hamas vowing revenge, rocket fire from Gaza intensified. Tuesday afternoon, met by Israeli airstrikes killing 15 in Khan Yunis, per local medics. Hezbollah in Lebanon fired artillery in solidarity, raising fears of a multi-front war. For Qatar, the attack tests its balancing act between the West and Arab world. Expelling Hamas or closing the office could end its mediator role, while inaction invites more strikes. U.S.-Qatar ties, vital for countering Iran, may fray if Washington doesn't rein in Israel. Regionally, it emboldens hardliners. Iran's condemnation signals potential escalation via proxies, while Sunni Arab states like Saudi Arabia, pursuing normalization with Israel, face domestic backlash. Globally, it undermines faith in neutral venues, complicating conflicts from Ukraine to Yemen. Experts like Lika Maki of Al Jazeera Media Institute argue that even a failed attempt does not absolve Israel of responsibility, potentially galvanizing anti-Israel sentiment. As the sun set over Doha, the city, and the Middle East, braced for what comes next. Peace, once tantalizingly close, now feels more distant than ever.